Coming up next on the Channel 11 News at 10, high drama tonight on Capitol Hill as Congress votes on the controversial North American Free Trade Agreement. That vote's expected to take place any minute now. It's been delayed because of a major disturbance. We'll have the latest for you. A group of 10 and 11-year-old boys turned a New Jersey car lot into a demolition derby, crashing more than 50 cars and causing $200,000 in damage. We'll show you the unbelievable scene of destruction. Joey's got a brand new bag. Meet Joey Buttafuoco Rockstar. The steel bars of a jail cell may not be enough to keep him from a television screen near you. The Long Island auto mechanic and Lothario is starring in a new music video. A young boy's trip to the library is causing big controversy tonight. His mother wants to know how he got his hands on a graphic X-rated book called The Magic of Sex. We'll hear from his outraged mother and the shaken librarian. Some amazing pictures of a Fisher dog who puts all other canines to shame. A story that might make your blood boil. You won't believe what U.S. Air has done to 2 employees who helped to save lives during that same airline's disaster at LaGuardia Airport. Connie Collins continues a special series on crime in New York. Safe, not sorry. Tonight, how to keep your children from becoming victims. It's information every parent should have. Mr. G has the weather. Jerry with the Knicks trying to keep a perfect record alive. And much more. The news at 10 straight ahead.
In New York, this is the Channel 11 News at 10. With Kaity Tong, Jack Cafferty, Jerry Girard, and Mr. G.
Good evening. President Clinton's on the verge of a major victory in the Congress tonight as the House of Representatives is getting ready to vote on the controversial North American Free Trade Agreement.
It's expected to be a classic come-from-behind victory, and the stakes were very high. Some said the Clinton presidency would be crippled if NAFTA went down to defeat. But the vote looks like a done deal. NAFTA looks as though it will pass with votes to spare. Tonight's vote comes after an emotional, angry day in the House. It also produced high drama as anti-NAFTA demonstrators stormed onto the floor in protest.
Sergeant at Arms will restore order.
The demonstrators were from the Greenpeace group, who argued that NAFTA will hurt the environment. They were led away in handcuffs and taken into custody. As early as this morning, it was clear that NAFTA would pass comfortably. Nevertheless, President Clinton spent the day talking to undecided congressmen, trying to win over more undecided votes just in case. And nemesis Ross Perot was also on Capitol Hill, trying desperately to turn the tide in his direction.
The feeling is very negative now, particularly about people buying votes with taxpayer money. And the anger across this country, if our telephone bank is any indication, or if like when I walked through here to get to this interview is any indication, when you get down to real working people in America, they feel they've been abandoned by the political establishment.
I'd made the point time and time again that Ross's problem was when he talked about that great sucking sound, that he had a hearing problem, you know, and that was not jobs going south, that was products going south. And we expect that to expand.
The House is still debating NAFTA right now. The vote expected any time. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest developments as they happen. Jack?
Back here in New York, an Irish priest at the heart of a Brinks robbery is hoping to get out of jail on bail tomorrow. Channel 11 News has been bringing you exclusive reports on this case all week long, and we continue tonight now with investigative reporter Mary Murphy, who tells us the FBI is looking back at a 1991 Boston robbery with a possible IRA connection.
The extended family of Father Patrick Maloney emerged victorious from court tonight after a federal judge agreed to a complicated bail package. This for the priest accused of using money tied to a $7.5 million Brinks robbery in Rochester, New York. But Father Maloney won't leave prison until all conditions are met.
You know, he should in the first place.
He doesn't belong in there, and he's getting out where he belongs. He's gone home where he belongs.
Bunch of Nazi bastards. Nazis! Nazis! Johnny, get hurt!
But as Channel 11 News told you last night, home on East 9th Street is anything but peaceful these days. The house owned by Maloney's family was raided last night by FBI agents looking for more money stolen in the Brinks case. Tonight, John Maloney showed us the safe that the feds were especially interested in, although the FBI did not find any cash. Do you think they thought they'd find some of the money from the robbery?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, my brother's nothing got to do with robbery. How could I have anything got to do with it?
You have passports there and stuff.
A lot of passports in that they said,
The family says what the FBI did take was a list of IRA prisoners, and Father Maloney's nephew claims he received a warning from one investigator.
He just said, hey, Frank, I'll be back for you. I'm going to get you. You can count on it.
And who said that?
One of the federal agents.
Channel 11 News is hearing that this New York Brinks case is now generating considerable interest in Boston. That's because back in January 1991, a group of men was arrested on conspiracy charges and accused of stalking a Brinks armored car truck. The group was eventually convicted, and some of the men had ties to the Irish Republican Army. We are told that the Boston FBI has assisted the New York FBI in this case. On the walls of Father Maloney's bedroom, you will find posters that speak of victory or death in the often violent IRA campaign against British rule in Northern Ireland. But Maloney's family claims they are not members of the Irish Republican Army. Today in court, Maloney's younger brother Frank sobbed at his bail hearing, explaining that his wife wouldn't let him put up an upstate farm as security. He cried out, "I'm sorry, Pat, I can't give up my wife and family for you." The final bail package calls for the priest and his relatives to sign a $1 million bond, to get security from a friend's home, to have Maloney detained at home, and finally he must wear an electronic bracelet.
I think they were reasonable, and in fact, under the circumstances, I think they offered the government and the court more security than even the initial conditions.
Finally tonight, we learned armed investigators removed more evidence from a First Avenue apartment where 350 pounds in cash was discovered Friday night by FBI agents. Federal affidavits say Father Maloney was observed making numerous trips to this building and the apartment in the months before his arrest. I'm Mary Murphy for the Channel 11 News at 10.
Two off-duty police officers found themselves in the crosshairs of crime last night. But instead of becoming the latest statistics, they fought back. The second and third time this week, the victims have stood up to criminals in our city. Glenn Thomson reports.
You can do nothing else but fight back, because if they get you, they're taking you first. So you got to kill them if you get a chance.
The law of the street in Brooklyn last night. Survival. The night of violence beginning when an off-duty transit police sergeant, Ray Alston, walking near this corner in Brownsville with two of his friends, found himself the victim of a mugging by a group of teens, one of them armed. When it was all over, 17-year-old Mark Morse, a small-time hood with 4 previous convictions, including rape, lay dead.
They confronted him with a gun, fired shots. He pulled his off-duty service revolver and returned fire and struck and killed one of the 3 individuals involved.
The cops was running scared, man. They running scared, man. That's bull, man. He ain't do that shit, man.
He was just a kid?
He's a kid, man. He ain't do that, man.
Less than 2 hours later, and only about 2 miles away here in East New York, yet another off-duty officer walking home with his girlfriend dropped a would-be mugger with his revolver.
He says, I'm a cop. He tried to rob my girl, and I shot him.
Yeah.
So I says to one of the cops, then, if he tries to rob him, why you have to kill him? He says he produced a gun.
The victim in that shooting, 16-year-old Lamont Lamponi, was hit in the shoulder and hand by a bullet fired from Officer David Hernandez's revolver. He died at the scene.
The war zone.
Shirley Duvernay heard the gunfire and rushed outside after a bullet ricocheted off her window.
Well, I think they're within their rights. You know, because it's either you get me or I get you. That's the motto now.
The 2 self-defense shootings come on the heels of this weekend's vigilante killing of 2 teenagers in Bed-Stuy by a factory worker who was being mugged by one of the teens. Ironically, the transit police sergeant involved in one of last night's shootings had never fired his weapon in 21 years on the force. His first bullet fired in his own self-defense in the violence-torn streets of New York. In Brooklyn, I'm Glenn Thompson, Channel 11, News at 10.
Undercover cops busted a fencing operation operating on Manhattan's Lower East Side tonight. Police raided Danielle Jewelry on Lexington Avenue and came away with what they said is between $50,000 and $100,000 worth of stolen merchandise. Most of it was jewelry, but there were also computers and other property, probably stolen from apartments on the Upper East Side, according to cops. 5 people are under arrest, including a 15-year-old boy. And New Jersey police say they have caught the beauty parlor bandit. Prosecutors today announced the arrest of 36-year-old David Bellino on charges that he held up 4 beauty parlors at knife point since February in Bloomingdale, Riverdale, Oakland, and Midland Park. An anonymous tip led to the arrest of the Lodi man whose live-in girlfriend is a beautician. Kaity?
4 from Paramus are under arrest tonight after they allegedly racked up almost $200,000 in damages at a local car dealership. Police say the kids found keys in some of the cars and turned that parking lot into a major demolition derby. Helen Jonsen has more.
This badly mangled Dodge minivan is a lasting reminder of a violent game of demolition derby. It was played by 4 little boys in this new car transfer lot off Route 4 in Paramus. The cars belong to Motor World Dodge, located about a half-mile west on Route 4.
When you saw it, you wouldn't believe it. It was just breathtaking to see something like that. I mean, there was cars that were smashed into cars and on top and sideways and any way you can think of.
Police say the Hackensack kids, 3 11-year-olds and 1 10-year-old, wandered into the lot around 4 o'clock on Election Day.
The keys were still in the vehicles before juveniles entered the vehicles and began to drive around the storage lot. It became a demolition derby type of incident.
The Motor World spokesman insists they do not leave keys in the cars. How did they get the keys?
That we don't know. Okay, we really do not know. That's being under investigation right now.
What are the possibilities?
We don't have any idea right now. Not at will to say.
Police reports show that in a half hour, the kids racked up $182,000 in damage to a total of 58 vehicles.
One of the caravans that they were driving ended up halfway atop a parked car, so that these 4 juveniles could have been injured, and could have been injured seriously. The juvenile officers don't believe that it started, that their intentions were to do that immediately, but it just got out of control.
Because of their age, the boys have not been identified, but police say they have no previous records. While the boys are still probably shaking from their first run-in with the police, they still have to have their day in court, but there's no date been set yet for their appearance in family court in Bergen County. In New Jersey, I'm Helen Jonsen, Channel 11, News at 10.
New York City police tonight are looking for a mother who abandoned her newborn baby on a Queens street. The infant was found this afternoon on a sidewalk inside a paper bag. He's now at Jamaica Hospital, and that's where Ed Miller is standing by live. Ed, how's the baby doing?
Well, Jack, for a short time late this afternoon, it was a child who no one wanted. Tonight, he is wanted by thousands. Jamaica Hospital being flooded with phone calls by New Yorkers anxious to adopt this little newborn as the big, cold-hearted city falls in love with one of its newest residents. A big yawn from a little guy, a 6-pound baby boy less than a week old, safe and sound tonight, warm and comfortable, oblivious to all the attention. Late this afternoon, abandoned by a mother who didn't want him, but at the same time, a woman who apparently wanted the child to be found alive. For less than a half hour after leaving him outside in the rain and cold, on the sidewalk outside this public library in Kew Gardens, Queens, police say the mother called 911 and told police where to find the littlest of John Does. The tiny baby had no diaper nor baby clothes on. Instead, it was loosely wrapped in a man's T-shirt, sweatshirt, and bedsheet, and then placed inside a large grocery bag. Answering the 911 call, 3 of New York's finest from the 107th Precinct. 3 cops who also happen to be real-life dads, scooping up the newborn and racing to Jamaica Hospital, utilizing their collective paternal instinct and giving a whole new meaning to 3 men and a baby.
There was no sound, but he did appear to be breathing. It hits home. You know, you have a couple of children. I hate to see something like this happen.
Who held the child on the way to the hospital?
I did.
Yeah?
Yes. It was some ride. The child spit up, but that was a good feeling because I knew he was healthy. So, and the lieutenant drove, and we got there mighty fast.
Yeah. Did you use your own personal experience to do the right thing? As a father, I mean?
In holding him?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was holding him tight, making sure he'd be safe.
Hold that head up, you know.
Oh, yeah, holding him up. So he spit up. It was, he wasn't going to choke on it.
The child appears to be healthy, but doctors are performing several exams over the next couple of days just to make sure. Lucky for the child, the mother decided to make an anonymous call, for doctors say he probably would not have survived through the night.
Newborns have a very low reserve in terms of sugar and in terms of becoming dehydrated.
In honor of the 3 cops who rescued the tiny lad, Jamaica Hospital staffers have named him George Michael John. The 3 cops are beaming with pride tonight, just as if the newborn baby was really theirs. As we said, Jamaica Hospital is being flooded with phone calls by caring New Yorkers anxious to adopt this child, but it is the Bureau of Child Welfare who will handle the placement of little George Michael John. Live at Jamaica Hospital, I'm Ed Miller. Back to you, Kaity.
All right, thank you, Ed. Joey Buttafuoco may be behind bars, but still his legend grows. You've read the books, you've watched the movies, and now you can see Joey the music video. That's right, there is now a new rock video starring Long Island's most famous auto mechanic. Rosemary Gomez has the story.
Just
Just when you thought it was safe, that the media hype was over, now that Joey's in jail, there's one more chapter for the comic book.
Now because you wear all those fancy clothes. Oh, yeah.
It seems that the man known for his fondness of snakeskin boots is about to make his debut as a rock star in a music video called Snakeskin Man, starring who else but Joey Buttafuoco and his ever-faithful wife, Mary Jo.
It is a video that was made about 6 months before I met the Buttafuocos, although it's been edited since then and some things have been added.
Joey's lawyer is currently negotiating to have the video aired on MTV. It features the music of this band, known as Virgin Steel. The band is managed by Joey's brother Bobby, who says he's been making serious music long before Joey got in trouble.
The band's got albums out in Europe, albums out in Japan, and it's serious.
Now, people are going to say you're capitalizing on your brother with all of this.
Well, if you look at the video, I think he's capitalizing on us.
If MTV does decide to air the videotape, Joey will have plenty of time to watch it. The celebrity convict will be spending the next 6 months here at the Nassau County Jail, and that translates to about 4,000 hours worth of TV time.
But I think he's kind of resigned himself to the fact that he's going to be here. There is no place else to go, and, you know, it behooves him to make the adjustment.
However, Joey is allowed to watch TV as part of his privileges. He'll still be separated from the rest of the population until at least tomorrow. And right now, he's adjusting to life in a cell like this one, having his blood pressure monitored and dining on a dinner of collard greens and chicken croquettes.
A lot of people don't particularly like him, so they're not going to treat him that well.
Jailside visitors don't believe Joey will ever be a star behind bars, even if his music video becomes a big hit. In East Meadow, I'm Rosemary Gomez for the Channel 11 News at 10.
A rock video. We have a lot more news to tell you about tonight. He doesn't become mayor for another 6 weeks, but Rudy Giuliani's already starting to take charge, and that's ruffling some feathers at City Hall.
How can you make sure your kids do not become crime victims? That is the focus of tonight's installment of Safe, Not Sorry. Connie Collins has tips all parents will want to hear.
A few months ago, they were called heroes after saving people in the U.S. Air crash at LaGuardia. Tonight, they've gotten pink slips from the same airline. We'll tell you more.
And a trip to the library causing quite a stir. A young boy comes home with a graphic book on sex, and his mother wants to know why. We will hear the answer from the librarian.